Welcome. My guest, as I earlier disclosed, is a development consultant and agribusiness expert, Mr. Promise Amaha. Mr. Amaha, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Economic recovery is a priority for most countries of the world for recovery from the ravages caused by the novel corona disease. What is your view on the government efforts at containing the pandemic and reopening the economy?
Well, so far so good. What we can see is a government that is trying their best to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, especially the agricultural sector. We have also witnessed strategic initiatives like the fertilizer distribution, farming support initiatives of the government, the non-interest funding by the central bank to make sure they kind of ease up and mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on agriculture. So the government is on their toes. They are on their toes, trying so hard to see what they can do about it. So we'll commend the government for making several efforts.
Okay. Mr. Maha, you are aware that the country has involved itself in a number of agricultural programs in the past, such as the Operation Feed the Nation and the Green Revolution, among others, while agencies were also established to drive such programs. But all this did not quite help our agricultural development. As expected, what in your assessment was wrong with all these agricultural policies?
Well, I think it's critical to state that Nigeria urgently needs a special parastatal or ministry that could be called the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation.
Okay.
That will be able to follow up on government initiatives, policies, and activities, especially around agriculture. I got a photo I would love them to put on the screen about the state of Nigerian economy in 1925, way before we got our independence. I don't know if you can come on screen now. So this gives you a quick glimpse of what Nigeria was in 1925, and the British referred to us then as Nigeria, our youngest colony. If you look at the critical, if you can zoom it up a bit, you see the critical areas that formed Nigerian economy at that time. We had palm oil, we had cotton, we had timber, groundnuts, coal, and the rest of them basically, majority being agricultural produce. That was the heartbeat of Nigeria. And this was in preparation, a flyer for in preparation of a trade show at Wembley, being managed by an exhibition commission set up then as way back as 1925. So we're talking about 1925. 95 years later, if most of similar initiatives like this have been sustained and properly managed, you could imagine where we would have been as a country 95 years later if we had those kind of stuff 95 years ago. At this time, most of our cash crops have not been populated. Now we have sesame seeds. Even on that list, you don't have corn. A lot of our agricultural produce, the agricultural potential of Nigeria had quadrupled over time given this development in 1925. So you find out that what we lack is not the absence of initiatives or policies, but the absence of proper implementation, an implementation strategy. In the monitoring, how do we deepen this? What is the annual budget given to agriculture in Nigeria, and who manages what and how? How is the private sector engaged in these processes? How are development and financial institutions engaged in this development? These are critical issues that have actually affected the growth of agriculture in Nigeria. And like I keep saying, and I always say, there are two things that are very critical. One is the name, and the second is the game. The name is agriculture. We refer to Nigerian Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Let's try tweaking it to say Ministry of Agribusiness. There's a whole lot that change of name would open up to in engagements within the space, bringing in core business technocrats to come into the value chain development of agriculture. And then, the game now speaks to the direction, how is it being driven. We have a demographic bulge, upon us, also made worsened by the COVID-19 issues. Technology, embracing technology, empowering smallholder farmers, will go a long way, in changing the realities of agribusiness in Nigeria.
But you are aware of the various interventions by the federal government on the agricultural sector. interventions by way of credit facility to smallholder farmers across states of the Federation. What do you think, what else do you think the government should do in order to resuscitate the agricultural subsector?
So I made a list of 4 critical things I think the government can do to resuscitate and revive the agricultural sector.
What are they?
The first one is effective facilitation and promotion of investment in strategic value chains. You know, there are strategic value chains that require effective facilitation, you know, from primary production to processing to harvest to market access. There has to be effective facilitation across this, you know, across investments on these value chains to be able to achieve that. The second is development of agtech, agricultural technology. Now we have the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. How are they encouraging innovations for agricultural development? How are they ensuring that the technology that drives agriculture is being embraced in a country that is highly under-mechanized when it has to do with agriculture, where young people have to pay as much as 90,000 naira or thereabout to lease a tractor per hectare, and how that encourages productivity. The third part is investing to empower smallholder farmers. In a country where we have the population, about 60% of the population, you know, as young people, what is the drive to attract them to agriculture? What is the drive to create the compelling awareness that agribusiness holds potential for creating jobs for them, for, you know, taking them off unemployment and bringing them out of the poverty rate? The final one is the fourth one I refer to as resilience of agriculture and food systems to various shocks. It's about time we start building resilience. As you can see on the screen, you can see young people, young farmers struggling with hoes and cutlass. This picture of agriculture does not attract any young person to engage in agriculture in an age and era where mechanization is basically elementary, you know, where you have tractors that do the planting, from land clearing to planting to harvesting. But you can see the back-breaking jobs. This is currently the farming season. This is the farming season. These are my farmers in the field in Plateau State, in the farming season. I'm talking about, I got these pictures fresh. They're real. So these are the realities. Okay, look at the several hectares they have to cultivate manually, traditionally, and how this impacts on them. So we need to facilitate investments on strategic value chains to be able to have the right results in agriculture in Nigeria, without which, you know, we'll be making a show of shame out of a sector that has the potential to take us out of poverty and economic challenges faced by COVID-19. You know,
but you are aware of this intervention. Once again, I want to refer to these intervention programs of the government. And mechanization is one priority area of focus by the federal government. Are we saying that this thing is not equitably distributed or monitored to the letter?
Well, the results are what they say, cancel the insults. You know, if basically the initiatives, as laudable as they are, as implemented, you know, properly, we'll have seen a huge, you know, progress to that effect. We would have been able to see huge impact and changes in the agribusiness processes across the value chains. But we'll still see same issues on and on. I just showed the picture of the current farming season and farmers as close as Plateau State here in the North Central struggling with issues. I don't know if they showed the one for the harvest of the previous season, how storage facilities are a problem. The maize harvest, there you go. This is after all that effort, and they gather so much produce as this much. They lack storage facilities to be able to sustain and so what does it take to, you know, enhance their livelihood and productivity by including technology and mechanization? You know, why has the tractor issue in Nigeria become such a political, you know, a political debacle? Why is it that it becomes a challenge to get the least tools for agricultural development across to the smallholder farmers across the country? How much more talking about providing market linkages for them? So, you know, like I said, and I insist, facilitating strategic investment across value chains is an area the government needs to sit up on. And the only way to achieve this is more and more engagement with private sector.
Private sector.
Yes,
driven.
I asked a very interesting question. How many Nigerian banks are fully disposed, sincerely, to the cost of agriculture in Nigeria.
But we have Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry that are doing even the government policies through the Central Bank of Nigeria. Remember the Anchor Borrowers program? I'm so surprised. Are we saying that this thing is not well followed in the area of supervision? Because I know so well that the government has invested a lot of money in that sector. Is it a problem of monitoring and evaluation?
How do you appraise return on investment? You carry out baseline surveys. You're able to evaluate your input as against the output. Every time the government, I hear this always, government has invested, the government have done this, the Anchor Borrowers program. Can we even interrogate the Anchor Borrowers program and do a baseline survey to understand the challenges and the gaps and the inefficiencies that affected the Anchor Borrowers program, as juxtaposing it with the results that is expected and anticipated? It's a very laudable initiative, but basically we need to carry out several baseline surveys from time to time, if possible quarterly, to be able to ascertain what are the issues that are impeding the results, the expected results with the huge investment that goes into these sectors. The finance institutions, the private finance institutions or commercial banks know better. And that's why most of them are very, 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 very not disposed, rather, to investment in the agricultural sector. They will tell you that the risk exposure is incredible. We talk about agricultural insurance. We also have the National Agricultural Insurance Corporation. We need to start having, in fact, the government should, as a matter of urgency, consider setting up a parastatal called the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation. Do you understand?
That will help?
Yeah, it will help across board. It will help. So the ministry is saddled with looking at different investment initiatives of government, appraising them, monitoring implementation and compliance, and also looking at the results. Considering also scaling it up. So these are the areas I think we really need to look at.
Okay, let's look at the impact of a COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian economy. COVID-19 has landed and will no doubt ravage economies globally. How do you think Nigeria can recover its agri potentials in a post-COVID-19 era?
First of all, COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise, even for agriculture.
Blessing?
Make no mistake about it. One of the biggest, opportunities for agriculture in Nigeria has been opened up by COVID-19. COVID-19 is the reason why, the agricultural space is receiving all the attention it's receiving at the moment. And I'll tell you for two reasons. First of all, we experienced an instant crash in crude oil prices, the somersault in crude oil prices. So, the government had to look inwards to see what's the closest alternative to crude oil in Nigeria is our agricultural production. I'll give you quick statistics. Africa, spends $80 billion on importation of food before COVID-19. $80 billion. You understand? Now, interestingly, countries have banned exports of food and
literally
commodities.
all countries
Good.
have.
So what does that tell you? That gives us an opportunity, to basically also
to consume what we produce.
Good. We'll now start consuming what we produce. So it gives room for enhanced productivity and investing on the value chains for processing and preservation, and also storage. So it's the blessing in disguise across board, across every value chain. Yes, it has affected a whole lot more, but it has also opened up a whole lot more for us to start looking inwards and thinking about, producing a whole lot more that we import.
Okay.
Right? Recently the president cried out to say, please, we don't have money again for importation or for food in Nigeria. And then you start to wonder, for a country that has, immense arable lands scattered around and immense population running over 200 million people, we still go to import food. What about backward integration? What about import substitution? For every raw material we export jobs. For every pod of cocoa we export the opportunities that are creating more of the unemployment and the restiveness we have in the country. How does that speak to food security, for a country that is already facing enormous challenges?
What do you think Nigeria should do as a government to attain the much talked about food security?
Well, like I said, I also took notes of what my recommendation for government should be, and I'll quickly just mention a few of the things I think government needs to do to recover from the economic crisis brought about by COVID-19. The agricultural sector should be developed based on market dynamics. And backed by strong government. First of all, this means focusing on the agricultural subsectors with strong potential to compete and create jobs at scale, even during the pandemic. So right now, the government should be focusing on, those subsectors within the agricultural value chain that has the potential to compete and create more jobs at scale. So this requires some level of analysis, looking at, the subsectors that we have across, which one can compete favorably and create more jobs at scale, given this pandemic. What sectors does it open up? Is something for government to look at. The second thing I also look at is that government needs to make practical interventions for economic recovery on sector-specific binding constraints, given the realities of political economy and capacity constraints. So if government can focus on these two recommendations, first of all, investing on subsectors on agriculture that has the potential to compete and create more jobs at scale, and then looking at how they can stimulate economic recovery, it will be the beauty of it is that imagine 95 years ago, going back to the picture I put up, in 1925, when we were still being colonized by our colonial masters, and Nigeria was doing so well and was, named the youngest colony. Imagine if we had sustained just this momentum 95 years later. Basically, we would have been well on our way to be food secure and creating enormous potential for job creation and development for Nigeria. Okay. Does it mean that we need to get back to our colonial masters to be recolonized to be able to achieve these results?
God forbid, Mr.
I know. That's what it seems. What is it's a food for thought. It's thought provoking. We should do the right things and be well on our way to developing this country based on agriculture.
Okay, some experts, agricultural experts, have argued world over that food security is crucial to development. What is your take before we round off?
Without food security, there will be insecurity. What are the factors that affect development? Insecurity is, top of it. Unemployment it's right there. So once a country or a nation achieves food security, it's well on its way to ranking top on development, because it mobilizes all the forces necessary. It creates an enabling environment for development to be achieved in the country. So food security is a priority that will lead to every other thing, because with food security we achieve, we create employment, we create jobs. We generate more revenue. Our IGR base is enhanced.
Even our gross domestic product.
Yes, our GDP is also enhanced, because as a result of food security. We have a very healthy workforce and manpower that are able to deliver the challenges, deliver on the challenges of development across board. So food security is a no-brainer. It's a priority and should be given all the attention.
Okay. Think agriculture, and so that you can improve your ways of the various channels of your inflow. Mr. Amaha, with this, I want to thank you for coming on today's edition of our program. And to you, our viewers, we want to thank you for spending your time with us on today's edition of your program, Think Agriculture for Improved Standard of Living and Additional Flows of Income. Have a great day.